Looking for a gift that's both magical and meaningful? The Story Dream Machine is perfect for birthdays, milestones, and holidays. Each machine comes with 3 stories and even includes a white noise nightlight mode for bedtime. It's a beautiful way to introduce a new generation to the stories you loved growing up. Get this magical and meaningful gift for your little one today. Available at Walmart, Target, Amazon, Costco, and LittleTykes.com. Bring story time to life with the Story Dream Machine.
Black Friday is here, and Pandora Jewelry is offering up to 40% off store-wide and site-wide now through December 2nd.
Explore jewelry designed to last beyond the season, from classic charms to modern rings, bracelets, earrings, and more. Whether you're holiday shopping or treating yourself, now's the perfect time to find something special.
Shop at Pandora.net or your local Pandora store. Exclusions apply.
You're listening to DNA ID, brought to you by AbJack Entertainment. Be sure to check out some of the other great true crime podcasts from this network, including The Murder in My Family, Missing Persons, Scene of the Crime, Zodiac Speaking,
Beyond Bizarre True Crime, Campus Killings,
and
Killer Communications.
All of these podcasts are available for you to binge on right now, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe where you're listening to this podcast so you don't miss an episode.
On August 2nd, 1986, 2 U.S. Forest Service workers were walking on an old logging road a mile south of Government Camp off Highway 26 on Mount Hood, Oregon. In the brush on Still Creek Road 2612 near Road 145, they discovered a large piece of a distinctively human skull. Searches of the area revealed additional bone fragments and a human tooth. Police called in to search the scene found nothing more, no clothing, jewelry, shoes, or personal possessions. The skull was turned over to an Oregon State Police forensic examiner who concluded that it originated from a Caucasian female or a small male in their 20s. Based on the wear on the skull fragment, he posited that it had been in the elements for about 10 years. That would mean the skull was likely put in the woods on Mount Hood sometime around 1976. And that was all the 1986 investigators had to work with. Further, the skull they had recovered was missing its mandible. So a black and white sketch of the decedent was complicated by the artist having to make an educated guess as to the shape and size of her jaw. No one recognized the sketch, and no missing persons cases from the area connected to Jane Doe, so she remained unidentified. Nothing happened with Government Camp Jane Doe's case for nearly 20 years. In 2005, the Clackamas County Medical Examiner's Office re-examined the remains, but were unable to make any progress on the case. Then in 2008, Dr. Nikki Vance, the state forensic anthropologist with the Oregon State Police, analyzed the skull and sent it to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification. There, DNA was successfully extracted from the skull. The 2008 review resulted in an updated description of Jane Doe. She was almost certainly a white female in her late teens to early 20s. She had died 10 years later than the original assessment in the 1985 to 1986 timeframe. In March of 2008, the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office Homicide and Violent Crimes Unit obtained the skull and tasked the Sheriff's Office forensic artist Joyce Nagy to undertake a forensic reconstruction of the skull. As I mentioned, there were impediments to an accurate reconstruction in that Nagy had no idea what shape the lower half of Jane Doe's face had been in life. She also had no clues as to hair color. Nonetheless, Nagy came up with a very lifelike clay reconstruction showing an auburn-haired woman in pigtails. The release of the reconstruction by the Clackamas County authorities, accompanied by a request for information, generated a number of tips, but no solid leads. Government Camp Jane Doe's STR DNA profile, obtained by the University of North Texas from her skull, was entered into CODIS's Unidentified Human Remains database, and she was also entered into NamUs as MP65214. Many comparisons were conducted over the years, with the DNA of missing women being compared to Jane Doe's. By 2015, there were 21 rule-outs, meaning all these women had had their DNA compared to Jane Doe's unsuccessfully. By 2017, 3 more rule-outs had been added. That year, another sketch of Jane Doe was released, this one a black and white sketch showing her with dark hair. By 2019, Jane Doe's NamUs profile reflected 26 rule-outs. In January of that year, the Oregon State Medical Examiner's Office received National Institute of Justice grant funds to perform investigative genetic genealogy and DNA phenotyping on 100 unidentified human skeletal remains cases. Unfortunately, the Oregon Medical Examiner's Office had a large number of John and Jane Does and no way to identify them without expensive and time-consuming IgG. Government Camp Jane Doe was one of the sets of remains submitted for grant-funded testing. But not much work was needed. The University of North Texas had already conducted DNA extraction on the skull years earlier, and that existing DNA extract remained viable. It was sent to Parabon Nanolabs. Their partner lab was able to create a SNP profile from the extract, and Parabon's DNA phenotyping revealed a trove of information about Government Camp Jane Doe. She was a female of Northern European descent, with fair skin, hazel or brown eyes, brown hair, and some freckles. Then C.C. Moore undertook an IgG analysis. The SNP profile was uploaded to GEDmatch, and there, C.C. found someone who shared 434 centimorgans of autosomal DNA and 52.8 centimorgans of X-DNA with the Jane Doe. This told her that she had located a first cousin once removed or second cousin to Jane Doe. But there's always a catch, right? Match number 1 was adopted. Luckily, CC had additional good matches to work with. Match number 2 shared 203 centimorgans of autosomal DNA with Jane Doe. This was likely a second cousin. The third top match shared 132 centimorgans of DNA with Jane Doe, a likely second cousin once removed, but was also adopted. A fourth match shared 117 centimorgans with Jane Doe, and a fifth shared 103. This was a great start. Furthermore, matches number 1 and 2 shared DNA with each other, meaning they were related to Jane Doe on the same branch of her family tree. None of the other top matches shared DNA with each other, meaning they represented different branches of Jane Doe's family. And the top match and the fifth match both shared X DNA with Jane Doe. Okay, guys, it's November 17th. Thanksgiving is almost here, and here in the U.S., that means holiday shopping is in full swing. If you're like me, if you haven't checked off at least some of the people on your list by the close of business on Cyber Monday, it's full-on panic. But you don't need to panic. Uncommon Goods takes the stress out of gifting with thousands of unique, high-quality finds you won't see anywhere else. Why is Uncommon Goods the solution to all your holiday shopping stress? Because Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, no matter their age. From grandparents to in-laws to kids and teens, Uncommon Goods has you covered. At Uncommon Goods, you'll find thousands of new gift ideas that you won't find anywhere else. For book lovers, history buffs, sports fanatics, foodies, mixologists, avid gardeners, and collectors. Uncommon Goods offers unique, creative items that are often handmade, things you can't find anywhere else. Many are crafted by independent artists and small businesses, making every gift feel meaningful and truly one of a kind. I got my father, a lifelong baseball fan and coffee drinker, an interactive baseball mug with daily stat quizzes he can access by scanning the mug with his phone. How fun is that? The extra amazing thing about Uncommon Goods is that not only will it make you enjoy holiday shopping, it will also make you feel good. Because with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3.1 million to date. That's incredible and so important around the holidays when so many go without. So don't wait. Cross those names off your list before the rush. To get 15% off your next gifts, go to uncommongoods.com/DNAID. That's uncommongoods.com/DNAID for 15% off. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary.
Make their holiday unforgettable with a gift that says it all from Pandora Jewelry. A gift that tells a story and shows you know theirs. That doesn't just sparkle, but speaks. From new festive charms to forever rings and personal engravings.
This season, give a gift that's perfectly theirs. Whether you're shopping for a shiny surprise for your significant other, matching bracelets to celebrate your friendship, or a heartfelt gift for a family member, say more this holiday season with Pandora.
I always look forward to the holidays because I live to give all the women in my life jewelry with a little something special engraved on it, just to show them I care with something personalized. You know, I love to get some gifts myself, and a man wearing jewelry is quite cool, if you ask me. Shop now at Pandora.net or visit your closest Pandora store.
Cece built family trees for the top 5 matches. Even though match number 1 was adopted, she was able to determine her biological heritage because Cece had enough matches to guide her. Matches number 1 and 2 both descended from the ancestral union of Ernest Herr, Herr, born 1857, and Wilhelmina Dahlke, born 1865. Matches 1 and 2 shared 83.9 centimorgans with each other and were second cousins once removed, according to publicly available genealogical information. Ernest and Wilhelmina were match number 1's great-great-grandparents and match number 2's great-grandparents. Cece knew that Jane Doe was also descended from this ancestral couple. Based on the shared DNA, she also knew that Jane Doe descended from match number 1's great-grandparents, Robert Herr and Ada Hall. Robert was one of Ernest and Wilhelmina's sons. Jane Doe was almost certainly his and his wife Ada's granddaughter. Of course, Robert and Ada had 8 kids. This is from Parabon's report, quote, "As each of the Herr children's descendancy trees were built, their spouses were identified and their trees were built backward in order to determine if they connected to the ancestors of any of the other top matches. This is done to attempt to identify a triangulation between descendants, usually through a marriage," end quote. In other words, Cece built down the trees of each of Robert and Ada's kids to see if any descendants of those kids and their spouses intermarried with ancestors of matches 4, 5, and 6. Finding that intersection was key to identifying Jane Doe. All this descendancy work revealed that the family trees of 4 of the 5 top matches converged, with the marriage of Elton Robert Herr, born 1923, and Daisy Lou Ryan, born 1936. Elton was one of the 8 children born to Robert and Ada Herr. Cece believed that Jane Doe was a daughter born to Elton and his wife Daisy. This would fit with the amount of X DNA Jane Doe shared with matches 1 and 5, as match 5 was in Daisy's family tree and Daisy was Jane Doe's suspected mother. And Elton and Daisy had lived in Gaston, Oregon, 80-some miles from Government Camp. There was a hiccup when Cece reviewed the obituaries of Elton and Daisy Herr and saw that their obituaries mentioned a son Robert and 2 surviving daughters, Wilma and Irene. That meant that both these daughters were alive on the dates of the obituaries in 1999 and 2011. Government Camp Jane Doe was found in 1986, so she was neither Wilma or Irene Herr. This was a case in which public interest in genealogy and family history played an important role. Cece was stuck, unable to find another female child of Elton and Daisy, until she found a public family tree published by Irene. On this tree was listed another daughter born to Elton and Daisy in 1957. She was indicated as deceased, but there was no date of death for her. This one mention in the family tree was enough to tell Cece that there was another daughter, one whose life outcome was unknown. Her name was Wanda Ann Herr. As a daughter of Elton and Daisy, Wanda would have been a first cousin once removed to the top match because she was a granddaughter of Robert and Ada Herr. She would have been second cousins with the second match, also on her father's side. On her mother's side, she would have been third cousins with the 4th match and second cousins once removed with the 5th match. Her relationship to the 3rd match was unknown because the 3rd match was adopted and his or her heritage was shrouded. But all the levels of shared DNA between Wanda and the known matches were consistent with these relationships. And there was no proof of life for Wanda other than the mention in Irene's public tree. Parabon's report to the Clackamas County investigators hypothesized that Government Camp Jane Doe was most likely Wanda Ann Herr, a daughter of Elton Robert Herr and Daisy Lou Ryan. CC recommended that investigators contact living members of the Herr family and try to determine whether the daughter, Wanda, who was listed on the public tree of her supposed sister Irene, was a real person, and if so, what happened to her. The investigators should try to obtain a reference DNA sample from one of Wanda's siblings to confirm the identification. Well, investigators did contact the surviving children of Elton and Daisy Herr. They were able to confirm that Wanda was a real person, and they even obtained her birth certificate confirming her position in the family tree. DNA samples from the two surviving Herr daughters confirmed that Parabon's hypothesis was correct. She was Wanda Ann Herr. Born on May 1st, 1957, to parents Elton and Daisy Herr. Her parents and siblings resided in Gaston, Oregon. Her siblings were able to provide investigators with a photo of Wanda at age 12, which was the photo released to the public with the announcement of the identification. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office told me in an email, quote, Wanda was reported by her family to have moved out of the family home when she was approximately 18 years old in 1976. It is unknown if Herr was sent away from the family home or left on her own. Family believes she moved into an unknown group home in the Gresham area around that time. Unfortunately, a lot of information is unknown, end quote. Wanda's sisters confirmed that they last saw Wanda in June of 1976. At that time, she was 19 years old, a petite 5'1" and 110 pounds, with brown hair and hazel eyes. The family told the detectives that she was a chronic runaway, but Detective Mary Nunn of the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office was unable to find any official reports of Wanda being a runaway. In fact, she couldn't locate any records of Wanda, whether it be at the DMV, banking records, the Social Security Administration, nothing. Certainly no one had reported her missing. Local station KPIC interviewed Wilma Herr about finding out what happened to her sister. She said, quote, "It was emotional, shocking, but also glad that I know. The last time I saw her was around the time my grandmother passed away. It was just before then," she said. That was in 1976. She continued, "You always wondered, you've presumed that something happened, but in the back of your mind it's maybe not, you never know," said Herr.
You ever feel that deep pull to the land, to know it, to build something that lasts, that itch for your own wild country? Well, it ain't just a daydream. In 2025, it matters more than ever. Whether you're a lifelong hunter or just starting out, dreaming of land to explore, to leave something real, or there is a trailhead where you can start. It's called land.com, the biggest online network for rural property. Find the right agent and explore everything from timber tracts to ranches. Get the tools you need to buy that dream generational property. Stop dreaming about it and head to land.com. It's your place to find your open space.
Every story begins somewhere. For your child, it could begin with a Guardian bike, built right here in the USA, engineered for safety and designed for confidence. Kids of all ages are learning to ride in just one day. No tears, no frustration. It's why Guardian is America's favorite kids bike and the New York Times and Wirecutter's top pick 3 years in a row. This holiday season, give the gift that's safer, smarter, and built to last. Visit GuardianBikes.com to save up to 40% on all bikes, plus a free accessory bundle worth over $100.
Make their holiday unforgettable with a gift that says it all from Pandora Jewelry. A gift that tells a story and shows you know theirs. That doesn't just sparkle, but speaks. From new festive charms to forever rings and personal engravings.
This season, give a gift that's perfectly theirs. Whether you're shopping for a shiny surprise for your significant other, matching bracelets to celebrate your friendship, or a heartfelt gift for a family member, say more this holiday season with Pandora.
I always look forward to the holidays because I live to give all the women in my life jewelry with a little something special engraved on it, just to show them I care with something personalized. You know, I love to get some gifts myself, and a man wearing jewelry is quite cool, if you ask me. Shop now at Pandora.net or visit your closest Pandora store.
Clackamas County Sheriff's Office Detective Mary Nunn was the investigator who identified Wanda and tried to find out what happened to her. She told KPIC, quote, "I was always hoping we could find out who this skull belonged to at some point. I'm just so happy that it has finally happened in this case, and we can give this family at least partial closure so they know where she is and they're not always questioning." But of course, just identifying Wanda is not enough to answer all the unanswered questions investigators have about what happened to her. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office issued a request for public information about the former Jane Doe and what happened to end her life sometime in the second half of the 1970s. Detective Nunn queried, quote, "Does somebody know if she was in an abusive relationship or not? Does somebody know if she left on a specific date and never returned? Does somebody know where she was headed back in possibly June of 1976 when the family last saw her?" The detective told KATU, quote, "It's very important to find out where she was, who she hung out with, where she could have worked, who her boyfriend was, if she had a boyfriend. I want to talk to the last person who could have seen her alive. If you were her roommate in her group home, if you worked with her, if she was your friend, if you know anything about where she hung out, I'm looking for that needle in the haystack that can help us solve her murder. I'm looking at it as a murder right now because I have nothing to believe otherwise." In November of 2020, investigators released an age-progressed black and white sketch of Wanda by a forensic artist, based on the family photo of her at age 12. The new image showed what she might have looked like at age 19, around the last time the family saw her. They hoped that seeing the image might trigger a memory and someone with information would call in a tip. So what happened to Wanda? I wish I could tell you. Detective Mary Nunn is now retired and I couldn't get a hold of her. And it seems Wanda's siblings, whom she interviewed, did not have a lot of information. Their parents, Elton and Daisy, omitted Wanda entirely from their obituaries. They did not include her as a surviving child or in a predeceased by mention. I have to wonder whether they knew their daughter had vanished. The fact that Daisy and Elton divorced in 1963 could have had a significant impact on Wanda's life. She was only 6 years old at that time. Her mom remarried twice, and it's unknown where or with whom Wanda lived at that time. Irene and Wilma said they last saw Wanda in June of 1976, and she was living in a group home in Gresham. But at age 19, if it was a foster situation, Wanda would have aged out of the system by that time. Reading between the lines, with her being labeled a chronic runaway and residing in a group home, it sounds like Wanda may have had developmental disabilities or psychological or behavioral issues that led her parents to place her outside the home. This is total speculation on my part, and the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office told me that, quote, "There was no information suggesting her had been diagnosed with any mental health conditions," end quote. If the group home was a private facility, it's possible her parents or other family members were paying the costs. There was one facility in Gresham that received some coverage in the local paper, the Oregonian, in 1978. It was called the, quote, Me-Re Center for Retarded Adults, which called itself the only activity center for developmentally disabled adults in the East County area. It was founded in 1968 as an activity center for handicapped children, but shifted to servicing adults in 1975. The article mentions that many of the developmentally disabled adults who came to the Me-Re Center to learn life skills live at a group home in Gresham. However, since there was no mention by Wanda's family of her being mentally disabled, it's also possible, again, rampant speculation here, that she was living in the Louise Home for Unwed Mothers in Gresham, established in the early 20th century. This is from their website, quote, "Women entered the Louise home for a period of roughly 6 months in total, with the first few months focusing on prenatal care of the woman, and then the last few months helped a woman through birth and the first weeks of the child's life. The organization also took an active interest in preparing women for motherhood and compelling fathers, when they could be identified, to pay child support. Though children were sometimes taken from women who proved themselves incapable of being a good mother over the course of their stay, the usual goal of the Louise home was to keep the mother and child together and compel fathers to take responsibility when possible," end quote. The Louise home also had other patients. They took in adults who were deemed at the time to be, quote, emotionally or behaviorally disturbed. Quote, "Today that kind of language can encompass anything from mental health struggles to developmental disabilities and special needs," end quote. All that from the Louise home website. I wonder if Wanda, whom her family said was a chronic runaway, was placed by her parents at this group home for some kind of psychiatric condition or an embarrassing pregnancy. It's very possible they didn't even tell Wanda's siblings about the reasons for such a placement. Again, this is all speculative. As I mentioned, very little is known about Wanda. But what is not speculation is that somehow Wanda disappeared from the group home and ended up dead in the woods near Government Camp. How, when, and with whom Wanda left the group home are the great unknowns. Her sisters last saw her in June of 1976, and the original medical examiner estimated her skull had been in the elements for about 10 years. So 1976 seems to be the correct time frame for Wanda's demise. On the other hand, more modern assessments put Wanda's death at much closer to the time she was found in 1986. It's possible she was living elsewhere in the 10 years since her family last saw her, and then someone killed her and left her on Mount Hood. Clackamas County Sheriff's Office told me, quote, "This is being investigated as a homicide. However, the medical examiner has not determined cause of death," end quote. I don't like endings like this. There is so much that we don't know, and unfortunately, I don't think the investigators know a lot more. Since the retirement of Detective Nunn, I don't get the feeling this case is receiving a lot of attention, likely because the probability of solving it without any foreign DNA or physical evidence is so low. I wish I could do more for Wanda than just talk about how little we know about her short life. At least, thanks to IGG, she is no longer a Jane Doe sitting on a shelf. Thanks for listening to this episode of DNA ID. Before you leave, please let me tell you about some important things related to the show. If you'd like to support this podcast, and in the process, get access to early and ad-free episodes, as well as bonus content like crime scene photos, you can sign up for a Patreon subscription for only $5 a month by heading over to patreon.com/DNAID. Of course, you're welcome to contribute more than $5 a month. We rely on Patreon funds to pay for the original source materials I use to research each episode. If Patreon isn't your thing, you can also show your support with an AbJack Insider subscription through Apple Podcasts. It costs just $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. Your AbJack Insider subscription will give you the same benefits for not only DNA ID, but for all of the shows on the AbJack network, like Killer Communications and Campus Killings. Head over to Apple Podcasts and find the DNA ID page or look for the AbJack network to get started. If you're on social media, we'd love to interact with you there. DNA ID is on every major social media platform. Search your favorite platforms for DNA ID podcast to find us. We also have a YouTube channel, and our website is dnaidpodcast.com. You can find links to all of these anytime in our show notes. If you need to reach the show, contact us by emailing dnaidpodcast@gmail.com. Finally, if you want to pick up some fun DNA ID merch and represent the show, visit the store at www.customizedgirl.com/s/DNA ID podcast. DNA ID is researched, written, and hosted by me, Jessica Betancourt. It's produced by me and Mike Morford of AbJack Entertainment. Music by Connor Betancourt.